This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and Star Cable. Worldwide, toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, you can always chat with somebody here at our studios by using the MSN address, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And yes, X-Zone Nation, the X store is open, www.xzonestore.com. My guest this hour is Kelly Hampton. We're going to be talking to Kelly about Into the White Light, the revelations of Archangel Michael. Now, Kelly Hampton is a compassionate spiritual intuitive, a compelling speaker, media personality, and star healing intergalactic energy practitioner and workshop facilitator. She is a third-generation metaphysician who works with the angelic and ascended master realms in her teachings. She is also the author of Into the White Light, The Revelations of Archangel Michael, a profoundly important book as channeled to her through the divine guidance of Archangel Michael. Joining us now is Kelly Hampton. Hey, Kelly, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thanks for having me.
Kelly, what was it like when you realized that you were able to tap into the angelic realm and that Archangel Michael himself was the person that you were dealing with?
Well, remind me, how much time do I have?
Well, yeah.
Let's see. It was, it happened about in 2005, as I write about it in my book, which you were so kind to mention in the introduction, that prior to 2005, I had been having telepathic communication with my mother, who crossed over when I was a young girl. I'm now 52, but in any event, there were some processional things in my development before I was awakened in the middle of the night by a big, bright white light that identified himself as such. So just to give a little context to your listeners that may not be familiar with me, it was certainly out of the blue, but it wasn't really out of the blue. But nevertheless, it was a awe-inspiring, still can't really believe it sort of experience. But since that time in 2005, when the information for the book came to me, I continued to counsel people on a daily basis with the guidance of the Archangel. So he didn't leave me. It wasn't like a one-time revelation and then he disappeared. So I continued to be able to tap into his frequency on a daily basis. But to answer your question, I guess it was awe-inspiring, humbling, amazing, gratifying, all the things that still really he brings to me every day when I draw from his information and counsel people today.
Kelly, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thanks very much for joining us. Kelly Hampton's my special guest, X-Zone Nation. We're talking about Kelly's book, Into the White Light, the revelations of Archangel Michael. Kelly's website is www.intothewhitelight.com. That's www.intothewhitelight.com. Kelly Hampton's my guest this hour, and Kelly and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and Star Cable. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Kelly Hampton's my special guest. Her website is www.intothewhitelight.com. And Kelly was describing just before we went to the break how she awoke in the middle of the night and there was this bright light. And it turned out to be Archangel Michael. Now, I was telling Kelly on the commercial break that if that happened to me, I'd have a minor stroke. And she said, but Rob, there's so much more to the story. So please, Kelly, tell us.
Well, thank you. Well, the immediate rest of the story was that it took me really until the third night, as I write about in the introduction, to believe that I was really hearing and feeling what I was. And the first 2 nights I said no. And so, after the third night, I sat down at my computer. I had written other books, so writing was quite familiar to me. They weren't in this genre, but it was quite familiar to me. So after the third night, I did sit down at my computer, and what happened was a 7-week transmission of angelic guidance. Some people call it automatic writing, and I guess that's what it was at the time. although in a sense it seems a little limiting to my way of thinking now. But in any event, I simply, as I write about it, was like someone flipped on a light switch in the room, and I sat there as an open channel. Any of your listeners familiar with that terminology, I guess? And every day I worked a little. Every day the angel would pour out the information, and then when that transmission of information that compiles the book stopped, it was just like the switch went down and the room was dark again, just in terms of the content for the book. So it was and still remains a remarkable thing to me, in a sense that in many ways, I guess unlike everybody, I consider myself very ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And
how long did the channeling last, Kelly?
Well, again, I had other things going on in my life. I had 2 young children, so I would go in there for about 3 hours a day, 4 hours if I could. And so if I had more time, it would have flowed very quickly. So there was no interruption. Surprisingly, if we were to stop on a particular topic, the angel would begin right back again, and he did. That's what happened. So
it's
not the last book. I know that he's telling me there's more. I'm to get to more. He keeps saying more, please.
Now, did Archangel Michael tell you why he chose you?
No, I've never even really asked that question. I guess you'd think that would be like the first thing I would ask. But to give you listeners a little more history, prior to his arrival, Archangel Raphael came, and I guess you might say he sort of tested the waters. Mm-hmm. But and then his guidance lasted maybe several months, and then, as if I'm talking to you, he telepathically said to me, "I'll be leaving." So this is all prefaced by maybe a 10-year exploration of, I guess if I were to label myself, my experience into the spiritual side began as a medium when I was able to hear my mother in my 20s when she crossed over. So that telepathic communication was growing, practicing in place, and being, I guess, reactivated, you might say. I was learning. So there were a good decade of learning before the angels plural, appeared to me. So by the time that they did, I was quite familiar. I had shifted my mind completely, thinking, this can't happen. I can't really hear. I can't really connect with souls on a level and know that life is everlasting. So I'd replaced all of those thoughts over the years. And so, of course, what I believe now, that everything is given in a divine plan. So I'm grateful.
Angels. There are many people who believe in angels. I believe in angels. And yet there are still so many who don't. And the way I see it, each and every day, someone's life is touched in one way or another by an angel. How do we convince people that angels are real?
Well, that's a very good question. And that's, I suppose, part of what my message would be, is that I, in no way, would say am to be exalted in any way as someone with special abilities, because the ability to be intuitive and connected to Source exists in every human being. So there are demonstrated ways to help with that connection. Of course, these mostly I've learned through hearing them from the angels, but it is, of course, something that's deep within everyone that can be brought to the surface. And some of the ways for that about the angel connection is meditative states, quietness of mind, calling on them by name. And to demonstrate, it's a bit like Michael would say, well, you come with faith or you come with trust. And so I didn't initially, I would ask for proof. So I guess if you're asking how do we know they exist, well, on a very simple level, in my own experience, I can say I didn't believe. There was a whole period of time where I didn't think I could hear what I was hearing from another dimension. So I would ask for proof. Send me a sign, send me a letter, tell me this, and all of those things in quite remarkable fashion, which are really like the basis of my next book, were demonstrated to me. So the mind wants to know, the mind wants proof. That's the mind. The soul, I'm taught, never lies. So it's really a fluctuation, I guess, of convincing the mind really, until a person reaches a place of faith and or trust.
What are some of the messages that Archangel Michael gave you to share in your book?
Well, he gave many, and the book is written like in a parable style, and there's a flow and a rhythm to the wording, and so some of the best ways, or a best way to demonstrate that, is really to just share a short affirmation from the books that might give readers an indication of how deep and profound the wisdom is. For example, there's a place in the book Michael talks about a chart and a register. And Michael goes on to say that the chart is a written, verbal, and mental agreement to a master, gods, and mother and father to abide by a certain code of conduct while on the earthly plane. He goes on to say, we have the power to review charts and registers at any time of our choosing. On earth, I have heard this spoken of as a person's purpose in life. Every soul, whether small or large, young or old, black or white, yellow or red, has one primary purpose in life, followed by several, at least 3 other purposes. So he presents a lot of information that, in a sense, that might be completely contradictory or unknown to some thought patterns that people may have had. In fact, he acknowledges this early on and says, he'll present some material and say, I ask you to pause and reflect upon this without judgment. So that's something that I hope readers will take time to examine just in their daily life. If that's the teaching they get, is that less judgment in the world today and in their own lives, less judgment.
Kelly, how has your interaction with Archangel Michael changed your life?
Well, in many ways, circumstantially, I'm still a mother. I still go about life in that same construct. But, of course, on a more profound level, it's enriched my life beyond measure, and it's enriched my life how? Because through his wisdom, I'm able to help thousands of people now, literally thousands of people, through whatever issues they may be having, and not just the issue at the moment, but of course a person cannot keep expelling the message without the message becoming them. It's sort of like you live and think or eat a certain way. Well, that becomes you. So certainly I'm not implying that I'm angelic, because I'm not. I can lose my cool, but I would like to think that, through osmosis, if nothing else, that my level of compassion through him, really, I give all credit to him, through him has enriched my life beyond measure, that the fearful person and the traumatized person, really, from the early passage of my mother, that, the faith of that knowing that life is eternal, that moment, that realization went on, and it's demonstrated every day as I'm able to counsel people and help them connect also with their loved ones, or Michael will help make the connection for them. That is where the pure strength, the complete, most utmost joy that I'm given, is that my place of beginning, was there. And where I am today, I would have never in a million years thought it was possible. But I was an angry, God-hating person for having lost my mother. And so by the grace of God, these events have unfolded so that I can pass wisdom along, hopefully in a way that not only gets people through the moment, but Michael teaches them things that propels them to help themselves forever. Okay, so they're not continually coming back to source for answers, that they are the source. Okay, he guides them in just a beautiful, no other word, but divine way.
What happens to us when we die, Kelly?
Well, my belief system, again, is demonstrated by what I was taught from the angel, and many things happen. He describes in my book that there are many levels in heaven, that, in fact, even the word heaven Michael is a very literal guide, so as everything carries a sound vibration. So it's the kingdom of heaven. That's his preference. It's the kingdom of heaven. And many things happen. It depends in what order what level a soul goes to. But certainly it's not a static existence. If anyone might be listening that thinks it's a static existence, that's far from the truth. He describes a place in the kingdom of heaven called the sacred garden. He says it's neither a place on the other side called heaven, nor is it a place where all souls go. The sacred garden is sometimes spoken of as the garden of good and evil, but it's not the same place. It is a place in our universe, but it is also a feeling one has of total acceptance. So when a soul arrives at the sacred garden, that is exactly what is offered.
All right, stand by, Kelly. You and I have to take a commercial break with the news. X Zone Nation, Kelly Hampton's my very special guest this hour. Her website, www.intothewhitelight.com. That's www.intothewhitelight.com. Kelly and I will be back after the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Kelly Hampton's our special guest this hour, X Zone Nation. Her website is www.intothewhitelight.com, and Kelly is the author of Into the White Light, The Revelations of Archangel Michael. Once again, her website, www.intothewhitelight.com. Kelly, before we went to the break with the news, we were talking about what happens when you die. How do we know that life is never ending?
Oh, gosh. I guess we know from Michael's wisdom, other angels' wisdom. We know by my ability and many other people's abilities to connect with a dimension outside of our own, I suppose. And we know when we're ready to know, I guess is the other thing to say, that all the convincing in the world, if a soul's ears aren't ready to listen, are not going to be convincing enough. So can we go on just a minute and describe the sacred garden to finish that?
Oh, yes, please. Please do.
Thank you. It's a very active place, as Michael writes about. So in describing the sacred garden, again, this is Archangel Michael's wisdom about the kingdom of heaven. He says, imagine a place where all the elders of your community congregate. To me, an elder is a soul who has mastered some of the tougher lessons. Most often, these souls are advanced in development, but we don't use an age here. Imagine them, then, all of them talking at once and hearing what is being said. Think of the elders as being wise and mature. Imagine them wearing brown robe and everyone dressing the same. As we imagine the scenes, suddenly something violent happens and the convening elders are shaken. Though no one can see what the action is, all can see the response. And this is what actually happens in the sacred garden when a new soul enters. It's like an earthquake, like a rocking episode is literally a vibrational explosion. This is how it is to be, Archangel Michael says. Those of us who have spent enough time in the garden expect this to happen, and we rejoice in the knowledge that a new soul has entered our realm of learning. So if I can take a minute just to say that the book of course, in earthly religions, Michael is often seen as a saint, but clearly he demonstrates in the book that when he mentions the word master, whatever master a person has on earth, they'll greet on the other side. So he mentions if that's Buddha, it's Buddha. If it's Allah, it's Allah. And he makes no distinction there. In fact, in the context of the book, too, he talks about what the limitations of earthly religion are. So in that grace, he opens, I hope, everyone's eyes about the divides of religion and the unity of spiritualness.
Kelly, what information do you get from those who have already passed on when you're doing channeling and you're communicating with those on the other side? What's it like for someone who's passed? For example, when you've communicated with your mom who's on the other side, what does she say it's like?
Yeah, well, that's a great question because it's never always quite the same, again, because there's levels in the kingdom of heaven, and the levels, of course, speaking of soul levels. And so it's been demonstrated through her to me and through many other connections. Sometimes souls are in a place called the healing garden, which Michael describes in the book, and I hear from other souls. Sometimes they're in a place that they call the viewing room, which is actually like a movie theater. If you can imagine this, you can open your mind enough to imagine this, that there's a viewing room where souls on the other side can catch glimpses of what's going on in the lives of their loved ones. So that's something that happens. There's a place where they can go to study. It's called the Halls of Knowledge. Michael speaks about shares. My mother shares that sometimes she goes to a place for knowledge, and then, of course, there are other levels as well. So it's a moving, fluctuating, totally engaging, very ordered, structured, like divine realm.
When you're communicating with those on the other side for yourself or for others who come to you for your ability to communicate with the other side, how do you validate who you're talking to?
Well, that's a good question. I don't need to validate anymore because I'm simply on the frequency that they are in.
Okay.
So, there was early 20 years ago, I suppose I would, but oftentimes it's not really validated through me. It's through the person that is seeking the counsel. You know, that the loved one will say something that resonates truth with them. They might send them a sign later, and then I get a phone call, and the person says, "I saw the sign," you know. So those kinds of things are in the kind of like workaday world, you know. So I don't question anymore. You know, questioning and doubt is not a frequency that I engage with. I don't even, not sure I can engage with that. So did I answer that well?
You
I
did.
mean, I can answer to the best of my demonstrated ability, and that is that when the connection is made, you know, people do not come through if they don't have a message to send to someone. So we call, if someone were to call me for a mediumship counseling session, I would ask them to call on the loved one by name so that it's sort of a filter, if you will, that prevents everyone from coming through. Okay?
Yeah. There's a question, Kelly. How do those on the other side know that they can communicate through you?
Well, I love that question because how would I know? Except I've heard this myself through readings, and I'm not the only one, but I hear them say they can see my blue cord. Okay?
Wow.
So I'm assuming that other spiritually connected mediums or telepaths or whatever we're calling ourselves also have a blue cord. Now, there's still many things I don't know. I don't ask everything. So I'm told through readings because many of my clients might ask, for example, or the soul on the other side will say in the meeting, you know, reading, we can see her blue cord. That's a good question. How else do they know that I am a valid source? So there's color. Color is a frequency, of course, like every other energy, and so and energy can be seen as color. So in the sense we're talking of that thought and connection is energy and frequency, it'd be interesting to get like all the, you know, spirit psychics of the world united, but I hear that I have a blue cord that they can see.
Kelly, did Archangel Michael give you a message to share with the world about 2012?
Well, yes, many messages. And again, I'm only smiling because the message is huge, profound, and I can speak on it as you've done through me for hours, or I can get to the nuts and bolts of the message. And the message certainly is not one of fear. The message that the energy between now and 2012 and beyond is actually what he calls it by many names, but they're all kind of tied in, calling it the ascension energy. And that's part of what he's asking me to teach now in Star Healing, which he gave to me in January of this year. So ascension energy involves love and kindness, that the fear-based world, the ego-based world, the worst of the worst that's plagued humanity in a worldwide situation is being moved aside. It's cosmically being moved aside. It's spiritually being moved aside, so that this is the year of the expansion, the awakening, the words like the awakening, the shift, all these things. They're talking about consciousness, the shift in consciousness, the expansion of consciousness, so that higher vibrations can enter in. And what are the higher vibrations? Love and kindness. So that things like doubt, fear, violence, jealousy, on and on, it's Michael has labeled one at a time, are simply not going to be reachable by the world any longer. It's a time of celebration, actually.
You know, Kelly, I am by no stretch of anyone's imagination a medium, a channel. I've got as much psychic ability, I think, as Joe Blow, my next door neighbor. But over the years doing this show, and when we started talking about December the 21st, 2012, a feeling deep inside of me came to the top where that date is going to be the rebirth of spirituality. In such a way that this planet and all the people on this planet have never seen. People are going to start asking the right questions to the right people, and hearts are going to be opening, and minds are going to be opening, and the impossible will be possible.
So true. This is so true. Said in a different way. Yes, exactly truth. So that means that many people, many particularly light worker people, are feeling like an urgency,
yes,
myself included, an urgency, or I know I'm supposed to do something, but I don't know what. I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of times I've been hearing that. And Michael, the shift in the readings from 10 years ago to, I'd say, within the last 6 months, if Michael's counseling someone and he knows they're a light worker or they're ready to do light working work, and that is, light worker is anyone that's willing and able to share compassion and love, he enlists them now to serve in this army. And what is the army? It's the unseen spiritual army. So the change definitely and clearly came. I could put it on a clock as the date you're doing. It's all part of the same thing. You didn't call people like this 10 years ago because it wasn't time. But now this feeling people are having, that something bigger is coming. It's here. In some cases, it's already here. And the biggerness is, as you say, living a life of truth within oneself, living a conscious truth within the world, and so that everyone is uplifted.
So, how do you what advice or what message does Archangel Michael have for the masses who are being told by many people that December 21st is the end of the world, that there's going to be a cataclysm, that even the planetary alignment is going to have a negative effect on the people of this planet? What was the message that Archangel Michael gave to you to calm the people, to reassure them that all will be well?
Well, thank you. He spends less time dwelling on the negative, of course, which is just what you stated, and takes attention to the positive, which was what you and I just stated, if that was clear. So he'll continue to use me. He'll continue to use other people as vehicles of this shift in consciousness, again, so that our minds don't really go to the place of fear. And my just knowledge as I get connected and I see many people all over the world saying the same thing that I'm saying, is that just by intention, okay, the fear stuff is kind of fading away. As people become more educated, that whole fear about 2012, that's just not going to even be able to take hold.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, he often talks in parables, and it's, a bit like water that's just going to run by people. So again, to help, I will be thrilled to restate, and that is that this is a shift in consciousness of a global perspective. Okay, there are going to probably be some Mother Earth belches, as he's told me, before, it's a releasing of the toxin. Again, this is an interplanetary, interdimensional kind of shift we're talking about. So the Earth itself is going through some shifts. So people have asked me, well, how can you explain Haiti, and how can you explain the earthquakes in Haiti? And so Michael will say, well, I suggest to you that Haiti has been restored to a better place than Haiti was before the earthquake came. So in that sense, there is a bit of reality, but again, it's not fear-induced reality. It's that if there are low consciousness places in Mother Earth, that's often where the hiccup's going to come, but the hiccups are not going to go on forever. And again, it's for a greater, higher power. It's not a sense of fear inducement.
So the negativity that is being talked about when it comes to December the 21st, 2012, where is this negativity originating from?
Well, again, I in some ways I feel that I operate in a vacuum, not knowing all cultures and all religions, but a lot of this came from the Mayan calendar, but not the Mayan calendar itself, but the misinterpretation of the elements in the Mayan calendar. So again, it's a bit like any story that's told throughout time. The meaning can shift and change. So again, by and large, my experience and my voice and many others like me is that if we're talking numbers here, the fear-based people of the world may number 2, and those that are getting into the enlightened places, knowing that my world is going to expand, that I can accomplish anything, that the world is totally prosperous and the best is still to come, 10 times, 100 times that number.
All right, Kelly, please stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Kelly Hampton's our special guest this hour, Exonation. She's the author of Into the White Light, The Revelations of Archangel Michael. Her website is www.intothewhitelight.com. That's www.intothewhitelight.com. Kelly and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue for tonight, Friday, April the 30th in the year 2010. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and Star Cable. Don't go away.
I have a call back for 866 negative K, nothing further, just
In over 36 years in law enforcement, I've learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, extraterrestrials, and UFOs, how we gather that evidence of their existence, preserve that same evidence, and present it to a court of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Come with me on a journey that seeks to prove with undisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Join me, Larry Lawson, host of the Paranormal Stakeout, coming to the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Check out the broadcast schedule for Paranormal Stakeout with yours truly, Larry Lawson, at www.xzbn.net. For more information about me, my travels, and my team, check out our website at www.paranormalfbi.com or join us on Facebook at Florida Bureau of Paranormal.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And welcome back, everyone. Kelly Hampton is my special guest. Her website is www.intothewhitelight.com. We've been talking about Kelly's new book that is out, Into the White Light, The Revelations of Archangel Michael. Kelly, it's been a great hour with you. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us here on the X Zone and for sharing the message that Archangel Michael gave to you to spread to the world.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Tell me, Kelly, I read on your website something called star healing. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, I'd love to. The exciting thing about this for me personally is that, like my book, the angel just sort of dropped it in my lap, and he did the same thing in January of this year with asking me to begin teaching, facilitating, and then, of course, teach others to facilitate something he's asking me to call Star Healing Intergalactic Energy. And before I kind of just take a minute to go into Michael's exact words about the information, if people are listening and wondering, well, who could attend, who should attend?
Yeah.
And as Michael says, anyone who has a personal or professional interest in health, spirituality, human growth, body workers, massage therapists, chiropractors, anyone who's interested in accessing divine wisdom, either as a healing tool for themselves or to go through all the journeys and become certified in practice in their own, as an extension of their own healing modality. So it was quite a thing for me to be in the airport traveling from my last place of engagement with work to be sitting in the airport in Rhode Island and hear, again, without even really asking. I knew nothing about the star galaxy. Now I'm learning. I see others that reference it. I see how Michael's telling me he links it to the Palladian energy, and there's other information out there. But when it came to me, it's like cold turkey, just like the book. I had no awareness of what was going on again. So the star galaxy is next to the Palladian galaxy, Michael's telling me, and the benefit. Why is this being asked to be shared now? It's my understanding that other archangels in other parts of the world, by the way, because I've met one woman, are asking people in South Africa. There's a woman I've met in England. I understand there's someone in China. The different archangels are asking different people in the quadrants of the world to teach a form of this higher vibrational energy. And it's sort of like Michael says, you can keep healing people like you're reading and using an old textbook, or you can access a new textbook. And the textbook then, of course, is the vibration that mirrors what the world is going through. So it makes complete sense, and especially when he says something, everything.
Kelly, I hate to do that. Kelly, I hate to do this, but we've run out of time for tonight. Do me a favor, if you get any messages from Archangel Michael or any other angel that needs to get out to the world, you let me know. We'll get you back on, okay?
Okay, thanks so much.
Kelly, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Continued success, and I look forward to meeting you one day. Exonation.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Take care, dear. Kelly Hampton has been my guest, intothewhitelight.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break at 6.5 minutes past as we continue here in the X Zone.